In the previous video I did about the skills of discipline, I mentioned how discipline is split into two things, framing and the skill. Framing is how hard you can work, and it's like a muscle that you train after a while to be better and better. Now, skill on the other hand is how good you are at raising your muscle, growing your discipline, and how good you are at getting yourself to do the discipline while also making sure you don't do too much to the point where you relapse. And the higher your skill level, the higher you'll raise the framing level. To raise framing, which is your ability to do hard work, you want to raise it or grow it any way you'd normally grow a muscle, which is to be in this growth zone. So there's the comfort zone where you don't push yourself enough, the growth zone where you push yourself just enough where it leads to growth and it's outside your comfort zone. But there's also the danger zone where you push yourself too much and try to be so disciplined that your brain just can't tolerate it anymore and you relapse. So I've made two new charts regarding this subject, and instead of splitting it into 3 zones, I split it into 5. So there's the comfort zone, which you already know, the stagnant zone where you aren't growing but you aren't withering either, the growth zone where you're growing and it's the zone you want to be in, the danger zone where you're pushing yourself too much and it's going to push you into the relapse zone, and the relapse zone where you'll most likely crash, burn, go back to your comfort zone and relapse. The goal for you is to stay in this zone. You want to push yourself just hard enough that you're actually growing and that it's hard, but not too much that you end up just quitting because it's so hard. The skill part of discipline is learning to stay in this zone, learning when you're not pushing enough or when you're pushing too much, and just going back here where it's really hard and you do grow, but it's not so much that you just give up. I made these two charts to help you semi-accurately understand which of these zones you are so that you can understand whether you're doing too much work or too little and go about it accordingly. As I mentioned in my previous videos, these 4 levers determine how hard a task actually is. And I've put all 4 of them here in a bit more detail and with extra numbers, which I will explain in a sec. In case you haven't seen this video where I cover all of the 4 levers, I'll go over them very shortly. Resolve is your reason for why you're doing the task. Motivation is how much you want to do the task. And energy is how good you feel in general. There's also framing, but I'll cover this later. For each of these 4 levers, you find at which section you are, and then you add them all up together to see which of the energy zones you fit. I've put below all of the letters, and whatever you add up is whatever the energy zone is. So if you know you should get the work done, you are indifferent about it getting done, and you're in a neutral mood, you're also somewhat used to working, then that'll put you 5 plus 6, that'll put you at 11. You are just at the growth zone. And of course, as always, it's a line. Like, it's not this, all of this math isn't exact. I'm still working out the exact numbers, so it could still count as stagnant or danger. Just try to use a little bit of your common sense. Regarding the 4 levers, you want to have energy as high as you can. It's good to be in a good mood. It's good to stay healthy. For motivation, you want to stay indifferent to getting the tasks done. If you enjoy it too much, you're going to stay in the comfort and stagnant zone. And if you hate it so much, you're going to go into the danger and relapse zone. For resolve, you want to have it as high as possible. This chart is backwards, but there are cases where it's too high, where you sacrifice your health in order to get all the tasks done. You sleep less, and that's just going to wear you out. You're going to be in a bad mood. You're not going to want to work, and you're going to feel horrible all the time, and that's going to put you back into danger and relapse zone. I've also color coded them to make it a little bit easier to see what you're shooting for exactly. So green is what you want to go for, yellow and blue is where you should start being concerned, purple, orange and red is where it's going way out of proportion. You need to take time to actually get it back to the baseline. Keep in mind that the energy zones can also be fine standing alone. I've put some markers where you can start identifying which of the zones you're in. For example, if you're having quite big cravings, then you might be in the danger zone because cravings take energy to resist and you don't have infinite energy throughout the day. So let's go over framing, because in the beginning of my series and my YouTube channel, I said framing is kind of not viewing work as necessarily hard or not viewing the task as hard. And that's not fully true. That type of framing I've actually put into motivation, because if you go through something hard, your motivation will increase for tasks in general because they aren't as hard anymore. The second skill of discipline that I'm shooting for is not framing, but instead something I call numbness. It's not being affected by emotion, difficulty, or life in general. Motivation is how you feel about the task, and numbness would be how much doing the task affects you. And that's kind of the skill that we all want. For example, getting out of bed early in the morning. I don't think some people can just randomly push past super intense feelings unless they've got this numbness skill where these feelings don't mentally affect them. And the way to build numbness or framing is very simple. You just learn to push past your feelings. And that's what the growth zone is all about. It's where you have to push past your feelings even though it's hard. Not too hard to the point where you relapse and you give up, but hard enough to the point where you don't want to do it, but you get it done anyway. And so there is 7 levels. There might be more in between, or there might be less. This is just a draft. But normally you'd stay in just one of these. It's more of a permanent type of booster. So the way you use these charts is maybe at the end of the day, you have a look at which of the sections you identify with of these levers. I've tried to put in clear differentiators, but I'm gonna make it even clearer in the next video I upload where I go over all of these sections. You identify which section you are in each of these 4 levers, then you add all of these up together, and then you see which of the zones you're in. Now, I do understand this is a little bit unrealistic to do every kind of night. It takes time, it takes awareness, it's hard to build the consistency, and you start lacking, like, why do I need this? I'm working on the solution for it right now. It should hopefully be out in a week and a half, because I think this is very powerful. If I can make it easy for you to identify when you are in the growth zone or when you are pushing too much or pushing too little, you can stay in the growth zone forever. Your skill level will go a lot higher. Keep in mind, you're going to get a lot more productive because you aren't forcing yourself like crazy to work and your mind is rebelling and labeling you as oppressive, but you're also working hard enough to the point where you are growing. So I think I'm definitely onto something. Thank you so much for watching. In this series of uploads, I got 2 more coming. First one where I go over all of these sections, and the next one would be another type of insight that I've had. You might find it useful, you might not, but either way, it'll build for the next big reveal that is coming in maybe a week and a half. So look forward to them.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go,